Call this meeting to order, and please stand if you can. If you're able, sorry. At this time, we'll ask our Mayor Pro-Tem, Buddy Fowler, if he'll lead us in a word of prayer.
Thank you, Mayor. Let's bow our heads. Our Father, we're truly thankful to be able to gather here tonight and do the town's business. Father, we're thankful for all the blessings you bring into our lives. We ask you to continue to protect our soldiers that serve overseas, bring them home safely, and protect their families, lift their families up in time of needs. Father, we ask you to be with all of us tonight as we do the town's business and make our decisions and hope they're the best for our town and our citizens. We ask all these things in your most precious name. Amen.
I ask Councilman Don Helms if he'll lead us in our pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and you may be seated. All right, I always have just a little bit of homework prior to the meeting. One thing I would love to say is, seems like, especially since the hurricane and a lot of stuff going on, it was brought to my attention that the meetings have gotten a little chaotic. Of course, one thing is, we used to always have, maybe if we had a busy night, we would have 5 or 6 people. Sometimes we didn't have anybody show up for the town meetings. So there was a little less pressure on council and councilmen. But anyway, I have realized that we are going to have to hold the meetings a little stricter, abide more so by Robert's Rules of Order. So I have asked our people, if I am not in order with Robert's Rules of Order, to remind me. And then if I also remind somebody that they're not in order, this is not personal against you, because like I told them, I said, correct me if I'm wrong, I won't take it personally. And so please, if you are corrected, please do not take it personally, okay? And because we all get excited about something and get to going on about something and sometimes go at it the wrong way. So I appreciate that, and like I say, I'm not trying to offend anybody, but it has always been my belief that we were here for the citizens. And so I like to hear from the citizens. Of course, now it's getting almost, we'd be here a couple of days if we always heard from everybody that wanted to speak, I know, but we do appreciate you coming to us, because citizens bring things to our attention that we may never see. I may never go down your street, for a long time, so I may not know something that is going on your street. Maybe there's something on the beach side that needs some correction that we don't ever go across to that area. So, I mean, when you bring things to us, we appreciate it, and that's the way a community works. We work together. We don't get upset because somebody comes in and tells us something. Like I told them, if my breath smells bad, tell me, so I won't be spreading it around. But anyway, yes, I like to have corrections made to me. So if you're corrected sometime during the meeting, don't feel bad, don't take it personally, okay? So we're going to get off to a good start, and I'll read the mayor's remarks that's put here for me. We ask that all attendants please set their cell phones to silent or vibrate mode. The council offers the public opportunity to speak during the meeting. Comments should be limited to 3 minutes each, must be directly issue-oriented with agenda items for this meeting, and or issues upon which the council has control. Citizen speakers will be acknowledged in order in which they signed up to speak, and will address all comments to the board as a whole and not one individual council members. Speakers will address the council from the speaker's podium in the front room and will begin their remarks by stating their name and address. Discussions between speakers and members of the audience will not be allowed. Public comment is not intended to require council to answer any impromptu questions. Speakers are expected to be civil in their language and presentation. Any comments where the primary purpose is to promote business or candidacy shall not be allowed. In accordance with the council's adopted rules of procedure, council members shall reserve responses, if any, from the council forum on the agenda. Okay, adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
I'll make a motion to adopt. I second.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Wait a minute.
Opposed? Same sign.
Wait a minute there.
Okay.
Ms. Nelva has a question.
Oh, Ms. Nelva, yes.
Have all this other in this agenda here been explained to the public?
The agenda's been online for over 7
I
days.
know, honey, but that line don't get to everybody. Everybody don't have a computer. I'm wanting to know if this crowd here has heard about what we're fixing to vote on.
They've had the opportunity to get it online. We've also had it here at Town Hall, and then there was copies available tonight at the back of the room as well.
As long as it's been well put out there, then, and our citizens are satisfied with it, I will accept it. But now, if they need to ask questions about some of this, they ought to be let be asked.
Okay, there's copies of the agenda at the back of the room, so you could have picked that up when you came in, so to give you an idea of what we were discussing during the meeting. Okay. We will now go into, what time is it? At 6:38.
I need a motion for the consent agenda.
Oh, I thought we already did. No, that's right. Nelva got it. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, we did. No, we already made a motion.
You made a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Now we need it, and I had a second for Mr. Fowler, and it was carried. Now I need approval to adopt the consent agenda as it's presented on here, which is all 6 items.
Okay, all right.
I make that motion.
You made it, right? You seconded
made it.
You made the motion.
Buddy Fowler seconded.
Buddy seconded. Okay, all in favor say aye or raise your hand. Okay, opposed? Okay, motion carried. All right, now, are we ready now? Okay, thank you, ma'am. Okay, once again, the time is 6:39. I will call the public hearing to order, and I will call on Miss Ashley to present the information.
Okay. What I have is the fiscal year 2019-2020 budget. It is presented to you all as it was presented at our last workshop. The budget is balanced at $17,086,892. Some things that are included in the budget, just to kind of review and recap. We have no increase in property tax, no increase in sanitation, trash fees, and no increase in your water and sewer usage fees. Also, just to go over, we did include the personnel position for the fire department that you all recommended that we put back in. Alan did go back and find where he could take some items out of his budget to accommodate that position. So that was included. We have included an increase to our health insurance premiums. We will not know exactly what that premium is until after the budget is passed, approximately in August, and it can be anywhere from 3 to 10%. We factored in a 2% cost of living adjustment for all full-time employees. And for capital improvements, we have the Powell bill, our routine streets, sidewalk maintenance, facilities and grounds, monies to upgrade the Welcome Center. We have a digital message board sign, and a speed trailer for the police department, and we've also allocated $155,000 to go into the capital reserve fund for our future capital needs. And on the water and sewer side, we have the $18,000 for engineering for the new well site, relocation of an automatic valve, and then the continuous upgrades to the wastewater treatment plant. So those are just some of the items that are in the budget. So I recommend that you all approve the budget as it's presented.
And the budget has been online for how long?
Since our last workshop.
Okay. All righty. Wait a minute. Okay. We need to go out of public hearing first, all right? Yeah. Yeah. Does anybody have any comments on the budget? Does anybody have any comments on the budget? Yes, sir.
I'd like to make the suggestion $105,000 for capital.
I'm sorry, you need to come up to the podium, sir. Can't hear you from back there.
I personally would like to thank Ms. Ashley for seeing ahead a little bit and putting $155,000 in the capital budget. I did mention at the last meeting. Thank you very much. The storm season's coming, and as we sort of got caught a little bit last year, this shows a little foresight and some good forecasting on your part. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else like to make a comment on the budget? Anybody else like to make a comment on the budget? If not, we will close this public hearing and ask the council if they would make a motion to approve this year's budget.
Motion approved.
I'll second it.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carried.
Thank you, Ashley, for a good job.
Okay. Mike from our planning department will come forward now, and I will open the next public hearing. It is 6:43, and it is zoning ordinance amendment, section 3.4, definition 6.3, signs permitted in all districts, and 6.7, types of commercial signs permitted. And Mike from the planning department will present this this section.
Good evening. These text amendments were approved in May by the Planning Board. One would be in Section 3.4, the definition of an A-frame sign, also known as a sandwich board sign. Also in Section 6.3, bulletin boards. The action requested is to allow external bulletin boards to be permitted at businesses, as well as church and public buildings. Also in section 6.3, 6.7, allowing for temporary signs. This would be if there is no temporary sign that is already up involving a sale or a special event, that we would allow one flag and one temporary sign, provided that they're erected only during business hours. The sign is only allowed to be 8 square feet in area and 5 feet in height. The flag would only be allowed to be 24 square feet in area and 15 feet in height. Signs and flags shall be placed on the same property as the business, and not in the public right-of-way or the sidewalk, and that the sign is inflatable. There's one more text amendment in here, which would be section 6.3, residential identification signs. This would allow signs on, say, rental houses to be up to 24 square feet in area. That includes any text and artwork that's associated with it.
Is that it? That complete it?
Yes, if the council has any questions, I'm happy to.
Yeah. Does the council have any questions? Okay, does the public have any questions on the sign ordinances? Anybody have any questions on the sign ordinance?
Let me make a comment.
Okay, let me call on her first. Yes, ma'am.
On those big house signs, are they required to be attached to the home? Can they be in the yard? What are the restrictions on the placement of those rental home signs, 24 square feet?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the question. They would be attached to the home. A wall-mounted sign.
Okay. Any, do what? Okay. All right, does the council have some questions?
Can't put it in the yard? You don't want to nail nothing up on, say if they had vinyl or something up on it.
Is this for home-based business?
As it's currently written, Councilwoman Albury, I believe these residential signs are already required to be on the exterior wall of the building, and nothing has been suggested about changing that.
Well, I don't think that's right. I wouldn't want to nail something into my vinyl. Now, I don't know how the public out there feels about it, but that's my feeling.
You work with the business, getting advisory and checking on all the sign ordinances and trying to come up with these changes and all. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
That's what I thought. Thank you.
Okay, but now, when you're talking about house signs, are you talking about the personal house signs, or are you talking about rental signs?
Either way, the ordinance doesn't differentiate between the two.
No, there's no differentiation between the two.
Correct. So it can be a personal house or a rental house.
Right.
Now, was she asking for home rental or home business?
Home rental.
That's what I thought.
Home rental or personal house.
That's what I'm talking about. I didn't think it was business. And I still go for not attaching it to the house.
That's your privilege, Councilwoman. We would need to rewrite the recommended ordinance then, if we were to go that way.
Well, let me see how the people out here feel about this renting houses. How many out there rents houses? One? Oh, there's several. How do y'all feel about the sign being nailed to your house?
I think you've got a deck or you've got somewhere you can let's never touch the deck. I think the rail needs things like that, not necessarily to buy house.
Yeah, now, we're not talking about sale signs at this time.
No, just rental.
We're just talking about rental signs.
I think the spirit of the ordinance is they don't want a big separate sign out in the yard.
That's existing today, however.
Do what?
That's existing today, however.
Yes.
I've seen some signs where they put 4x4s up and then they put their post or put their sign recognizing their home by name, and then that's not very far from the street edge. What's bothering me is just a different way of presenting the information to the house. And if it's to be attached, then you will have a need to go around and identify those homes that are not meeting the ordinance and go back and identify those to get them to do those.
You're right. We do have some houses that have their house name sign, not numbers, but house name sign on a post outside by the road.
Yep, sure do.
And that's outside of what I just heard relative to the ordinance.
Right, it is.
We're changing the allowance of that sign from being 6 square feet in area to 24 square feet.
24 square feet?
That includes, say, if you want a big wooden dolphin or something like that that goes along with the house.
God, that's...
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Back in the back. Sally, okay.
think I'm correct. I was at the meeting. The reason they changed this, I know I'm short. The reason they changed the square footage was because the original ordinance only called for the lettering on the house. They could have covered the house with any kind of artwork they wanted, any sign, any size, as much or as little as they wanted. They could have had a school of dolphins swimming across the house if they wanted, the way the original ordinance was written. This was to include text and artwork, so that it wouldn't be so large that it would be offensive.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, ma'am, in the back. Oh, sir, sorry. I thought that was the lady behind you and the arm up.
You were calling on me, but I knew I wasn't a lady. So.
Yeah, I was looking at the lady behind you and seeing an arm.
No problem. So we have street signs that have our street address, like our lot numbers. We live in option 2 mobile home estates, and they're right by the road. They're designed to look like a channel marker. We have some that are square and green, some that are triangle in shape and red, like the channel markers. Is this ordinance going to apply to that as well?
So this ordinance applies to, say, if you wanted to give your individual home a name.
Okay.
So that's...
I have a name sign on my house, so that's within the limitations of the ordinance. But my street sign that identifies my address, that's right by the road, that's a freestanding sign on a post, is that consistent with the ordinance, or is that something that
I think so. I would interpret that as a different sign entirely.
Okay. I just... It's not
I guess it's like an address sign separate from a residential identification sign.
Correct. It's literally got the address, but it looks like a channel marker, and it's 2 foot. It's 2 foot square now,
right.
So it's a pretty good sized sign.
Yeah, I don't think this ordinance would.
As long as it's not in the right of way, right?
No,
Correct.
It's not in the right of way.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Yeah, probably a lot of the houses, especially ones that sit back like in the woods or something, would need their street numbers out by the road so that somebody could find it.
Mike, I appreciate you explaining it to them and giving them a chance to ask questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, sorry, Marty.
Marty,
You want to come up here, Marty?
you got to come up here.
You need some exercise, Marty.
Can you put a 2x5 sign up on the sand dunes saying private property? Would that be under that?
Completely different part of the ordinance. We're discussing.
You're talking about signs.
Signs, yes.
That's who I thought.
But I don't know the answer to that question, but so I apologize. But yeah, it's not involved with what's.
We now have a big
being
sign
amended
at
today.
5th Street. It's about 2x5, colored, says private property. Shouldn't be there. And I just wonder if that was in the code or not. But
Okay.
it's not.
That might go by and check it.
You can check on it, right? Mike can check on it.
Yes, sir. I will.
Now. Yes, ma'am. Right? Am I right this time? That's who I thought was raising the hand a while ago.
Sorry for the second question. I just want to clarify for a lot of the homeowners that we work with. Some of our homes have small signs that are in front of the homes that are not attached to the house. So that's what I'm also asking about. They might have a post right in front of the house because they did not want to put it on their vinyl. Do those need to be removed and it has to be attached to the home if it's up like right on their deck or in the yard?
I understand your question, and thank you. I don't have the ordinance in front of me here today. However, I may have been mistaken when I said these signs have to be attached. That's how I believe I remember the ordinance, but it might not actually say this way. However, the proposed text amendment today does not have anything to do with forcing these signs to either be on the house or separate from the house or anything like that. So it's just a simple sign area computation.
Okay, so what we're saying, according to this ordinance, if the sign is on the building, it has to be within these restrictions, right?
Correct.
And
if it's a sign,
are we going to have to come back and discuss what they're talking about is the signs away from the house at a different point, because they're not covered in this ordinance, right?
That's correct. And so I may have misspoken. I'm just going off of how I think the ordinance is written, but it is possible that it's not written that the sign has to be attached to the house in the ordinance already. So I don't think anybody that already has an existing sign such as that would be in violation.
Yes, sir.
I suggest that we table this motion until such time we have the clarity and the detail that we need to make a decision. Thank you.
Miss Sandy. Oh. Come on up and get in line.
I just wanted to ask why, we worked closely on the business signs that were permitted, and we are limited to the linear feet of your store frontage, then makes, how large our sign is going to be able to be. But on homes, you can have a little cottage or you can have a huge house, and they all get the same size. But on businesses, we're limited. So if you have a small storefront, you get a tiny sign. But with a home, we're just saying, take it up to 24 square feet. I know several of the businesses would really appreciate a bigger sign.
Sure. I'm thinking, did these signs come up during the meeting as far as home signs?
And actually, home signs are more restrictive than business signs. Say you had 50 feet of frontage for a business, you'd be allowed up to 75 feet in signage. This would mean all homes would only be allowed to have 24 square feet of signage.
Okay, but that's on houses, right?
Correct.
Private property.
Correct.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to make a suggestion.
Name and address. Sorry, name and address. We were forgetting to get that.
Oh, my name is Katie Heron. I live in Boca Bay, 200B Boca Bay Lane.
Okay, thank you.
I agree with the gentleman that just stood up and suggested we table this. I would suggest we also have visuals to show people what is acceptable and what isn't, because sitting back here and listening, I have no idea what he's referring to, what signs. So it would be easier to have a picture of this house is acceptable, this is not, for the people to look at.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. All right, David, do you want to speak?
I'm David Bird from 103 Durham Avenue. I support what the gentleman down here said. I think it would be totally unfair to y'all to hold you accountable for a lack of information. So, I really think we got to go back home and come back.
If it pleases the council, my book with the ordinance in it is 30 feet away, and I could read that out loud now for clarity, or if we're wasting time, I can surrender the floor. However, I do caution the council that the business owners have been fighting for some changes to our sign ordinance for quite some time now.
They have.
I make a motion we pull this till the next meeting. Let him have the signs to verify.
You need to go back into open forum.
Okay.
Or close the public hearing,
All right, well, I was just wondering if y'all had anything else.
I'm dissatisfied with it too.
Okay. Anybody else want to speak? The open forum, speaking on the sign ordinance. Okay, we'll close this public hearing. Okay, do I have a motion from the board?
I make a motion that we pull this till the next meeting.
I second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. All right, has been postponed. I guess we'll try to redo it, and maybe we can come up with some signage or some pictures or all for the next meeting so you can better understand it. Either that, or if not, we'll just have to have enough handouts.
And too, Doug, I don't think they can all hear from that speaker in the back of what he's really saying. some of the things I was hard of hearing up here.
Anyone back there having a problem
He
here?
said he could hear it. Okay. All right, well, we postponed that anyway now.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, going to another public hearing, and the time is 7 o'clock. Open a public hearing, and this one is Resolution 2019-15, request for the NCDOT to prohibit low-speed vehicles on state-maintained roads within Surf City corporate limits. And I call on Chief Ron to talk to us. Cut him on over here.
Chad. Cut Ron on.
Hello. There you go. I have to lean forward here. Most comfortable here. So back in the last workshop, I suggested to council about passing a resolution on low-speed vehicles on the state highways in Surf City. Just to clarify the definition of a low-speed vehicle, the North Carolina General Statute is a four-wheel electric vehicle whose top speed is greater than 20 miles an hour, but less than 25 miles per hour. So just to clarify what a low-speed vehicle is. I suggested to council to prohibit these low-speed vehicles on the three busiest roads in Surf City, which are state highways, being the Surf City Bridge, North New River Drive, South Topsail Drive, going through the S-curve down to the Topsail Beach line. I've had many complaints. I know there's some bordering towns that actually have some businesses that are renting these low-speed vehicles. We're starting to see more and more of them on the roadways here in Surf City. I've seen them impeding traffic. Most of these vehicles are running 20 miles an hour with a line of vehicles behind them. And obviously that's against the law to essentially impede traffic. Technically, you're not allowed to pass these low-speed vehicles on a double yellow line. It's passing in the no passing zone. It's against the law to do that. So there's some things that concern me, as we're growing here in the community. I'm trying to find ways, obviously, to prevent any serious injuries. These vehicles are not crash worthy. I think they're fiberglass, plastic. I hate to see what happened if something happened, a road rage issue happened, or if something happened in the community and they got met a vehicle and a crash occurred. I know in North Topsail Beach a couple of years ago we had an incident to system out there where a low-speed vehicle was struck by a motor vehicle, and it was not a good sight. So with that said, I suggested the town council to look at a resolution. I will say Topsail Beach passed in 2017 a resolution prohibiting them on North Anderson and going through town on a state road. I think they had good response on that. And again, we're not talking about prohibiting them in 25-mile-an-hour zone side streets in Surf City. That's not what we're looking to do. And you can certainly, if passed, you can certainly pass over from one side of the highway, the state highway, to the opposite side of the highway. So, for example, if you're coming out of the Canal Street somewhere and you're passing over to go over to North Shore Drive, you certainly can cross over. So, essentially, what I'm looking to do is prohibit them on the state highways, and by doing that, we'd have to pass a resolution if we see fit and send it up to DOT, which will honor that resolution.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Do I have a motion on this?
Discussion.
Do what?
Some discussion.
Let's have some discussion. I think a lot of people, you remember back on, Doug, when we had this brought up to us about getting the people to put tags on their golf cart? You remember all that?
Yeah.
People wanted it. Now, does people not want it to ride? You getting it where it's going to go? Not on New River Drive, not on the bridge, and back this way. And so, in other words, they're supposed to come out of the drive, cross over, and go at the beach, and that's it. Now, is that y'all hear what they're saying? Are y'all satisfied with all that?
Mr. Mayor?
Okay, yes,
Do
sir.
we speak first, or do we let them speak? Do we speak at the end after that?
Wait a minute, they'll speak after the council does.
Okay. So I have a question for Chief Shannon. Is that okay? A question for you. Each weekend I try to visit a different beach. Just, when you get away, go have dinner somewhere. And I go to a lot of beaches where there's golf carts. I mean, a lot of beaches. And it's kind of a thing. And I personally like golf carts. I don't see a problem with it. What studies have you done? What facts do you have that states that golf carts cause issues or can cause, that there's fatalities because of golf carts? What have you put together before for this ordinance?
Yeah, let me back up. Ms. Nelva did mention something back in 2014 is when we actually we looked into, as far as the city itself. The state gave it the authorization for municipal governments to control golf carts or low-speed vehicles within the communities. But looking at facts, there's over 15,000 accidents per year. Studies show 40% of those were falling out of carts of injuries. 10% were rollovers. Pulling this study out back in 2014, I called 22 coastal towns up and down the coast of North Carolina. 17 of those towns didn't allow golf carts, and they used to talk about regulating golf carts now, not necessarily basically the towns regulating them from the state, giving the authorization on. I look at some of the injury issues. Carolina Beach had an impaired driver, fell out of car, sustained bed head injuries. Emerald Isle didn't have any issues. I got with Pine Knoll Shoals, Bullhead Island, 10 to 20 accidents a year. Some accidents, victims sustain some type of serious head injury. So I did these studies back in 2014. I'm sure these numbers have gone up since then. So it's been quite a few years since then.
Real quick, I just want to make sure. So, and I always, I obviously agree with you as the chief of police, but there was probably 150,000 auto accidents on those beaches over the last year. So I'm just wanting to understand, where this came from. Where do we come up with this all of a sudden? Why are we at this point now?
Well, my thing is this, I wouldn't be doing my job if I wasn't looking out to try to keep our highway safe. I look at it, I've been here 26 years. We've had 3 fatalities in the past 8 months. Now, granted, they weren't golf cart fatalities, but it's something that's, something that's alarming to me. So I'm trying to find ways to keep our highway safe, and looking at a fiberglass low-speed vehicle impeding traffic on these state highways is concerning.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else have anything? Yes.
Ron, I'm not contradicting you, but I am contradicting you. I was a highway patrolman for 31 and a half years. I have yet, and I'm retired now, I never investigated an accident with a golf cart. My son lives in Surfside. He doesn't live there. He owns a place in Surfside, South Carolina. I have never seen an accident down there. They ride them everywhere except on the 4-lane highway. I think that's 17 that goes to Charleston. I have never seen an accident. I have never seen any problems whatsoever with those golf carts. Let's face it, the speed limit on the beach on that bridge is 35 miles an hour. I would like to see, if we don't pass this, that the golf carts get on the right of the white line and be courteous enough to let traffic go. But I'm telling you right now, with the amount of people we got coming in here in the summertime, and the few times I've seen it, people are not going to be able to speed across that bridge. There's too much traffic. I disagree with it. We've got too many people that own golf carts that live off this island that want to come on the island, and if you don't allow them on the bridge, there's no way for them to get on the island. And we haven't had any problems with them so far.
Respect your opinion, sir.
You got anything? got anything else? What about the public? Anybody who wants, did you say you?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
I think back in 2014, did we not pass a resolution stating that all street legal vehicles could do that, but all the other ones could not? They could use the private roads and the side roads, but they could not be on the public road, which is 210 and 50. I believe that's the way we stated it at that time, that all golf carts that wanted to be on those roads had to be street legal, which means they have license tags and all that, and they can still do that. If you do not have one of the street legal vehicles, you can use the side roads, but you could not go on the main roads. You could go across them, but you couldn't go on them. I thought that's the ordinance we had before.
That's right. Yeah, that's what we did back then.
So that's what's in place now, right?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else up here? Okay, public now. Yes, sir. Come forward and state your name and address. And
my name is Mark Williams. I reside at 160 Now Boys Loop, which is right across the street over here. I've got a street legal golf cart that I spent over $7,000 having built because you, the town, said if I wanted a golf cart to ride on the street, it had to be street legal. The only way for me to get over to the island is to go around Little Kingston Road and come out there at the right in front of Batson's Gallery and then go across the bridge to go over there. So I've done everything that you've told me to do at a cost of $7,000 out of my pocket. And, I disagree with the surveys and everything, officer, that you said that you've done contacting Ballhead Island. They don't allow cars there. If they've had an accident, it had to be on a golf cart because that's all they have there is golf carts. So, thank you.
yes. Okay, anybody else? Yes, sir.
Mark Gregory at 109 Twilight Court. I do respect the fact that you're proactive and looking forward to citizens and so forth and their safety. Thank you very much. I think the concern that I have is that in my community, which is Sunset Harbor, we come out, we absolutely have to make a left turn onto Topsail Island, and then we make a right turn on Quarter Horse. That's about, best guess, 100 yards on the main highway. I have a street legal, I get it inspected every year and so forth. So I have a street legal vehicle hoping that I was, adhering to what had been established. Again, do appreciate you looking out, but I haven't heard enough statistics to say that this is a threat to public safety, all said and done. Again, you're looking out. But I'm not necessarily convinced that this community, knowing that we are on a beach, that people come here on a vacation, and yes, we do everything we can to control speeds and so forth, and there are some different restrictions to that, and your staff are doing a very good job at that, don't get me wrong. But I'm not sure the golf cart is the issue that needs to be addressed right at this point in time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Yes, sir.
It's me again.
You again?
My name's Kenny Holly. I'm 150 Now Boys Loop.
Still there, huh?
I'm sorry?
Still at that address,
Still
right?
at this address, yeah. So I just want to reiterate what the other gentlemen are saying. I have a street legal golf cart as well, and I've got about $6,500 invested. It's tagged, it's inspected, and with regard to the accidents and whatnot, I heard the police chief mention a couple of head injuries and that sort of thing. You have to wear seat belts. If you're wearing a seat belt, you're not going to fall out of the cart. Now, I've seen kids get on these things and do things that kids do, obviously. So that's definitely something that has to be policed. But the other point I wanted to make is, for us to get over to the island and visit the restaurants over there, which my wife and I do frequently, going across the bridge on the golf cart is the only way we can get over there on the golf cart, aside from driving a vehicle over. So we do appreciate the opportunity to do that, and I'm sure the businesses over there appreciate it as well. The other point I wanted to make is they do have a smaller footprint than a regular car. So maneuvering around the island is easier, parking is easier, it relieves some of the pressure or tension from other people trying to park bigger vehicles. So I think that's a positive thing by that regard. And also, they're eco-friendly. They're not burning fuel, so there's no emissions and all that sort of thing. It's an electric vehicle by definition. So I think there are some dangerous things about a golf cart. I agree with that. But there are also many, many positive things. And again, this is a beach community, and you see this a lot. Go down to North Myrtle Beach. There's probably, on the horseshoe down there, Main Street, there's probably more golf carts moving around than there are cars. That's just part of the whole beach life thing. So, my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Yes, sir.
I'm Rick Robertson, 4086 4th Street on the canals. These guys have stole all my thunder. They have laid it all out there as good as I was ever going to do it. I just want to add a couple of things. I keep hearing the term impeding traffic. I have nothing against bikes, but I don't know how many times I've been behind bikes that are supposed to be in the bike lane. No, they're on the left side of the white line. I have to go around them 15 miles an hour. That's impeding traffic. And here's the biggest thing. My concern is, if you live on the canals where I do, and I don't mind riding on the beach road. Matter of fact, I do that 95% of my time because I don't really want to be in the majority of the traffic. However, if you leave the canals going south, when you get to surf condos, you have nowhere else to go. There is no beach road. You've got to get out. If you're gonna let me go to the shops and stores and restaurants in Surf City, I've got to get out on North New River Drive to get down to Shell Road to get back on the beach road. I'm just like these other guys. I spent a lot of money on a golf cart, which you guys told me what I had to have. I spent $7,000, $8,000, $10,000 on a golf cart to make it street legal. It's licensed, it's insured. I don't think it's quite fair to say you can't drive it in a certain part of the city. The bridge, only thing I'm going to say about the bridge, there's a bike lane that's probably, if I had measured it, I'm going to say it's a good 6 feet wide. I've been told it's not wide enough to put a golf cart on. I submit to you that my golf cart's 4 feet wide. I think it'll fit in the bike lane and I can not impede traffic. So, thank you for listening.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Yeah, you, David.
Daniel Blevin, 621B North New River Drive. I agree with these guys, number one, as far as the golf carts go. I really appreciate the fact that you're being extremely proactive in regards to the safety of our community. One thing, we're a unique community, and one thing I think we should look at is if the golf carts are actually impeding the speed of traffic, it might not be a bad thing with the amount of people we have walking around town. Something to think about, as far as the pedestrians walking and kids and stuff. It might not be bad to have a rolling speed bump out there every once in a while that's not a pedestrian. So, but I definitely, favor these guys and support the golf carts in that regard. And as far as statistics go, I would love to see the statistics. Maybe, are they as far as injury rates? Are they on golf courses? Are they on the roads, that kind of thing too, because that might be a little construed. You get a few guys out there playing golf, I can act a fool in a golf cart as well. So, but I appreciate you and the proactiveness. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Yes, sir. Howdy.
Roger Morton, 179 Cornell Lane, Hampstead, North Carolina, but I have the privilege of living in Surf City. Yeah. And I really appreciate the job that our police chief has done to preserve safety. Motor vehicles are very dangerous machines, and roads are dangerous places. And we have a city that is designed around vehicles. We don't have a golf course here. We have a city, and cars fit a lot better than golf carts in the infrastructure that we've got. We've invested $100 million in that infrastructure, and to make that infrastructure less functional because some people have a hobby of golf carts, I think is a significant cost to every taxpayer in the city. I also feel that people who like the open air ride have a great opportunity. You can buy a Jeep, you can trade in one of your cars, get a Jeep, you won't take another parking spot, whereas every golf cart requires its own parking spot somewhere, and we have a notorious shortage of parking spots in Surf City. And so for that and for other reasons, I totally endorse our police chief. And for those who advocate golf carts, try a Jeep. I've got lots of good reasons for you to go out and buy a Jeep instead of spending $7,000 on a golf cart. It's a lot more versatile, it goes faster, it's a lot safer. So let's go the Jeep route, or wind down the windows on your car and go 25 miles an hour when it's not blocking anybody.
Thanks, sir. Okay, anybody else?
Got a hand back here.
Oh, okay, yes, sir.
Good evening. I'm Jeff Thigpen, 210 New Boys Loop. The gentleman talking about go buy you a Jeep. Y'all priced a Jeep lately? Okay, I'm like everybody else has mentioned. I have a $7,000 golf cart too. We done what the commissioners asked us to do. I respect the chief. He's trying to look out for the safety and the well-being of everybody, so hands up for the chief. But we're following the officer's rules and regulations, and it takes less space to park a golf cart than it does my four-door Jeep. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Okay, who's next? Yes, sir, Mr. David. Yeah.
David Bird, still at 103 Durham Avenue, short. I have seen golf carts pull over, as you see it, into that 4-foot space. They can enforce the law if they're impeding the traffic. Pull over, let them by, then use the bridge. But don't let them stay out there and block everybody. But they can pull over. I've seen them do it. And as far as seat belts, I didn't even know there was a law because people don't use them where I'm at.
Yes, sir. Okay, one more.
The bike lane, great thing to have. But my wife and I also walk the bridge for exercise. The bicycles typically tend to ride on the walking path behind the cement barrier. I haven't seen a single bicycle on the other side. I think everybody assumes that's a breakdown lane, and nobody really goes over there. When I go over on my golf cart and two cars get behind me that I'm obviously impeding traffic, I make a point to pull over into that lane, and my golf cart fits that lane perfectly fine. Maybe some sort of signage or something that you could put at the base of the bridge on either side to encourage people with golf carts to do that very thing, just to be courteous, to let faster traffic come by. As far as speed of traffic, Memorial Day weekend, everybody saw the number of people we had on the island. One of the great things that I noticed about the bridge was the fact that traffic never stopped completely. Last summer, I sat by the food line in line trying to go across for probably 20 minutes, still, dead still. This Memorial Day weekend, we were going maybe 16, 17 miles an hour. This is in my gas vehicle, but we never stopped. It's only going to be as fast as the cycle time through the roundabouts on either side. So when you have busy traffic, everybody's going to be riding golf cart speed anyway. So it's not going to be an issue of impeding traffic. Now, in the fall of the year, yeah, you've got a point. When people are riding 45 over that bridge, and they do, when they're supposed to be going 35, then they get upset because they get behind a golf cart or a bicycle or a moped, for that matter. Nothing irritates me more than a moped. So anyway, just another point.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Okay. Anybody else that hadn't? Yes, sir.
I don't know if I can speak because I'm not a resident. However,
I reckon we might let you speak anyway.
As many of y'all know, I own elite golf carts. I have a lot of golf carts on the island, rentals, total of 68 between all the islands from your South Carolina down. And I've been a lot of carts for your other dealers. Never had one wreck out of all these years, out of all these golf carts. But I do appreciate your study. But however, I do agree with the gentleman about you pulling over into your bridge. I mean, I can see where that would be a point. But I mean, we're in a retirement or a luxury style of a living here. I mean, less you have the carts, less I'll enjoy ourselves and just have a real good time.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Anybody else? Nobody else got anything to say? You want to say something? All right, you can say something.
Is there,
Name and address.
Sue Medlin Smith, 110 Island Court, Surf City, North Carolina. Okay. Do you have to put car seats on that for babies?
Ask Chief that.
We can't hear you. You got to address
Ask Chief.
Okay. Do they put car seats on golf courts for the babies? Okay.
Yes, everybody's actually required to wear a seatbelt.
All right.
There's a child in that seat, then he's being in the car seat. That's correct.
Okay,
yes,
so is it like a lap seatbelt only, or can you have harness type seatbelts?
Most of them have all harness seats.
Good.
Harness snow brackets, but more for the higher end ones have the harness seats on.
Okay.
But a golf cart, not necessarily. A lot of golf carts, street legal golf carts, have lap.
Okay. I just know ball head, I have felt like, before, it's a little bit flowy with just a lap belt, but if they had a harness, then that would be great, and especially take care of the children. That's good. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. All right. If nobody else wants to speak, all right, we'll close this public hearing. All right, now, do we have a motion?
I make a motion, we leave it like we got it.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Raise your hand. Opposed? Same. Okay. Sorry, Chief. It is a good idea, and, if these people that rented the golf carts would remind the people that are renting them, just put a little note with it or something, asking them if the traffic backs up behind them, just, especially like I say, on that bridge, they got plenty of room to move over and let them go on by. And, of course, like I say, that would help some. I know it's not going to solve it, Steve, but anyway. But anyway, appreciate each and every one of you that spoke for or against. We appreciate both ways. Okie doke. Let's see. Now let me get back to my agenda here. So we've got. We're going to have Mike again. You're up, son. This is on a preliminary site plan approval for Surf City Crossing.
Thank you. So this is for the approval of the development plan for Evolve Surf City Crossing on Alston Boulevard. Evolve Companies is seeking development plan for approval for a 14 residential building, 336-unit apartment complex on a 34.7-acre tract of land on Alston Boulevard. The Technical Review Committee has found that this project meets all requirements concerning fire code, policing issues, water and sewer specifications, streets, and the town's zoning ordinance. The Planning Board unanimously passed recommendation to approve the development plan on May 16, and the staff also recommends that the Town Council approves this plan.
Okay. All right. Okay, what's before us is, it's a recommendation from the Planning Board that it was approved, and it went to the Planning Board, when was that, Thursday, 2 weeks ago, or a week ago. And have they met all the criteria for this plat approval?
Yes, sir.
Okay, do I hear a motion from anywhere?
So are we going to get any discussion on this, or no with the public, or no? I don't know what the process is. That's why I want to know.
We should get a motion, and then...
I think we should get... It's not a public hearing, this consideration.
It's not a public hearing. Are we allowed to...
Do we get a motion and a second, and then discussion? Right? Okay. Do we have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion, we discuss it. Is that what I'm asking? Is that the motion I'm making?
You can do that.
Yeah, can I make a motion that we discuss it?
Docket, no, we can postpone it. You can make a motion to postpone it if you want to. Is that what you're talking about?
I'm sorry, Steph.
A motion to approve, deny, or postpone, and then we'll get a second, and then we can have a discussion on that item.
Well, I'd like to make a motion postpone.
Okay. Do I have a second on that?
I'll second.
You're going to second it? Okay. Now, do we have any discussion on it?
Yes, I have some discussion on it.
Okay.
Sure. So, Mike, I've got a couple questions for you, if you don't mind, okay?
Of course.
As you know, we're obviously, our city's growing. We're inundated with a lot of developments, which is great. I mean, I think we're all in favor of growth, and we're in favor of these developments. As the mayor says, we're here for the citizens.
Right.
100%. And if the citizens have concerns and all options haven't been exhausted, then I want to do what it takes to at least have a complete understanding of the project. So if a citizen comes to me and says, I don't understand this, here, I'd like to talk about some options, then as a representative, we have to do everything we can. By postponing this would just give us the time to be able to go through some things. For example, who are the owners of the 3 tracts of property, the purple, yellow, and white? Who are the owners of those tracts?
Purple, the one that's up for discussion today, I believe is currently owned by Weingarten Investments, but is going to be owned by Evolve Companies. The yellow tract of land is owned by Highway 17 Partners, LLC, and the tract of land that's not colored just north of that is owned by Highway 17 Partners 2, LLC.
Okay. Does the Highway Partners, obviously the Partners 1 and 2, those are, obviously there's some affiliation there. Is there any affiliation with Weingarten? Do they have any affiliation at all with that property?
No, sir.
So that Weingarten doesn't have any affiliation with the 17 Partners, correct?
Correct,
okay.
As far as I know.
So I know Councilman Helms stated that before we make a decision about golf carts, we wanted to make sure that we hear from the public. And I know that the public has expressed consistently about the traffic issue that could be created in Dogwood Lakes and in the arbors here. For example, you said that the apartments will bring how many vehicles, traffic-wise?
According to the DOT, they average 1,560 cars in and out every day.
In and out every day. And then how many will the arbors too? Is it that with the 87 homes or 78 homes or 76 homes?
I believe, sir, you mean the terraces, the yellow?
Yeah, the terrace. I'm sorry, I apologize.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to be clear. 808 in and out every day.
So you're talking 2,300 daily additional cars. And I know one of the things that you've said explicitly that the Dogwood Lake would not really be affected by this at all. these apartments. Is that correct? Okay. You said that the minimum, it will be very minimal. They will go up around Harris Teeter and around. Is that correct? That's what you're saying, correct? Yes or no?
I'm saying yes. People from the apartment complex, in almost no cases, I think, would go through Dogwood Lakes.
You want to have that map over there and sort of show the people what we're talking about?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Of course, most of them that live in there know it, but we just bring the map up.
I think that'd be good, Mayor.
See it.
I can speak loudly. Can everybody hear you?
Yes.
All right. So there's going to be up for vote today here is the Albury City Crossing, which is in the purple. And also Councilman Shugarts is asking questions. And also... Hello. Okay, and also Councilman Shugarts is inquiring about this yet-to-be-built but already approved by the council yellow parcel here, which will be called the Terraces and is 76 single-family homes.
Okay, so if you could show also too, for example, traffic flow, that would be kind of good. I think that's important. So let's say you're coming northbound, right, from Wilmington. So can you show the traffic pattern going into that area from 17? What the two different routes?
Sure. One route would be to go through Dogwood Lakes and to connect that way to Highway 210 if you're going to Surf City or Topsail Island. The other route would be to continue on 17 and then turn onto Highway 210.
Which I think we agree that a majority of that traffic will come from up around Harris Teeter and through that Alston Boulevard. We definitely can agree to that. But even at 2,300 cars, 5% is still 115 cars. Let's just do 5% only use Dogwood, which is, coming northbound, I would say you're going to get a lot more than 5% of the cars coming from Wilmington are going to go through there. Is anybody ever driven through, have you driven through Dogwood Lakes, come in that development on Cornell? You have to pull your car to the side for another car to go by, not including the 45 children that play in the streets, okay, because that's what kids do is they play out there and have a good time. So concerns is the traffic northbound is going to be massive. The second thing is, why doesn't the developer strike a deal up with the person that sold him that tract of property, which is the, am I correct about it's 1 and 2 partnership, 1 and 2, to be able to spend the money to enter and exit onto 17 and do the right thing instead of using the other developments for their entrances. Nobody here would like, anybody would like their end of their road being put a development in, put a cut through when they should use the proper. So I'm just, these are some of the questions that I have. And that's why I want to table it, to be honest with you. That's why I'd like to table it, okay?
Okay, we have a, I'll just, no, they can't. We're not in open. It's not a, we're not open for discussion, right?
And Mr. Mayor, sorry. Yeah. So, Mr. Mayor, I want to be on the record. I'm not opposed to the apartments. I'm not opposed to the developments. What I'm opposed to is using the other developments for pass-throughs instead of figuring a way out to get out on 17 they bought the land from somebody else. So they should figure that out. Who sold them the land in that tract, of that white tract there? If you point that white tract out, Mike, thank you. They should figure a way to use that portion there to get onto 17 through the person that sold them that.
Doug, can I say something?
Yes, ma'am.
I think the planning board, whenever they go over these building maps, they should look at these entrance more closely. Make sure they are big enough to take care of the traffic. Now something is failing. I have rode down through Dogwood Lakes. I know them darn roads are narrow. And if a school bus or anything goes down, and God knows it ain't going to pass another car. And that other development that's going up right now, people should have looked at that and not depended on coming through Dogwood Lakes. It ought to go back out to 210 and come around and leave these people alone.
Okay. I would like to say that some of you were in the discussion prior to the meeting, and I had sent out emails asking you to come prior to the meeting, because an hour prior to the meeting, starting at 5:30 in the afternoon, we always have somebody from all of our town departments here. So if you have a question about anything that's going on in the town or something that's coming up on the agenda, then you could come and meet with the people from the different departments. And we did have several from Dogwood Lakes that came in and talked with it early, and then we had some from other places that came in and discussed it, and they got theirs cleared up before the meeting even started. So sometime it does you good to come in and hear their side. I think according to our building inspector and the planning department, they are going to try and look at getting another connection done into the terraces over here, somewhere behind Lowe's, if we can get Lowe's to work with us. And that would alleviate some of the biggest concerns on Dogwood. I understand their concern because that's not there now. And there's no guarantee that it will be there. So I understand their concerns on that. And you're right. I mean, it's, but from my understanding is, conductivity is something that is required by the state now, right? Is that right?
Correct. I know it's at least in the state fire code that neighborhoods have to connect to each other when possible. It's also in our subdivision ordinance.
Right. And I don't know, I think we're looking at maybe looking to see if we could use an emergency cut through, right? So that would take care of, the heavy problem. So we are working on it. We're not just, laying back. But I think even most of the ones from Dogwood Lakes agreed that their big concern was not, building the apartments. It was just, felt like that would add a little more flow to the already problem traffic in case of a wreck out on Highway 17 is what they were saying. So anyway, that just to give you a little bit of an idea of what they have been feeding to us. And so no, we're not I don't think anybody's against somebody else moving down here and building new places and all that. They're just trying to look after conductivity. Is that right, Bob? And so anyway.
Well, that's what I was saying, Doug. I want development to come.
Right.
But these entrances, it's got to be planned before they sell a lot.
Right.
That would satisfy everybody in the neighborhood. And not come up with this foolishness now.
All right. Okay. Now we do have a motion and a second on the floor.
Yes.
All right. All in favor?
So
raise your hand. Huh? Yes.
Okay.
Raise your hand.
All in favor?
In favor of what? Just make sure.
Okay, you made
not approving the preliminary. Is that what it is? Not approving the preliminary?
Got a motion on the floor to
table it, right? To table it, yes.
Yes.
To table it.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, Teresa second.
And Teresa seconded.
Yes.
All right.
So there's been a motion and a second.
Yes.
All right.
Now,
all in favor?
All in favor, raise your hand. It's unanimous. All right.
I hope they can come up with something to please the people out there.
Okay. And that is till the it doesn't have to go back before the planning board or anything. It will come up at the next meeting.
Think you'll have it straightened out?
Okay?
If not, at least we tried. Right, that's the thing.
All right. Now we'll go into, let's see. All right, the public forum. All righty. You got your list?
I have a Mr. Steve Hodgson of 111 Cornell Lane.
That's fine. Did you sign that, Jim?
I didn't think I needed to because I put that before, but I can sign it afterwards. I appreciate what everybody said for 30 or 40 minutes about the safety of golf carts. That was very enlightening. Also the safety of automobiles. And I appreciate what you've just done about taking a second look at our community. But I'm going to talk about the number one factor as to why I'm here today. And that's my daughter and all the children that live in our neighborhood. Those streets are extremely narrow. And for those of you who haven't been there, for those of you who live there, you understand our parking challenges are immense. And no, this apartment complex wasn't something we were against. It was just a wake-up call for us. It was a wake-up call that we could not sustain that kind of traffic. I brought with me today a picture that I don't even need to use of a river that we had across Osier Drive. And honestly, I'm not even sure from an infrastructure standpoint if we could have sustained that. So there just needs to be a ton of due diligence done about the connection to these neighborhoods before this proceeds. We want to see Surf City grow. We want to see Surf City prosper, the businesses. We want to see everything come back. But there's nothing more important than the safety of our children. And when those buses come down that road, those kids sometimes are in the middle of the road because we have nowhere to park or they're blocking driveways. Somebody once told me, what is the acceptable rate of failure for a school bus? Is it 1? Is it 2? It's none. There's no acceptable rate of failure for a school bus, nor is there any acceptable rate of failure for a child to be hit by a car. And if I had to say there was any one concern of this entire plan, it is that alone. I spoke to one of my neighbors today on the phone who had lived there what I think is the longest, and he said the two most terrifying times of his life was seeing legs outside of his vehicle, little kid that he almost missed in Dogwood Lakes, and that's before anything was connected. I don't think anybody would dispute that we would put anything before keeping our kids safe, and I just would like you all to think about that before you make any final decisions in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Mr. Steve Hodgson of 111 Cornell Lane.
Steve Hodgson, 111 Cornell Lane. The one thing I really want to impress, if you're not looking at visual at our streets, our driveway aprons for 2 cars measure 19 feet. The road measures 19 feet. You cannot pass cars on your own driveway. How are we going to pass cars on our own streets? Adding 2,300 cars, possibly 1,200 maybe. You can't pass car to car on our roads. Thank you.
Okay.
Wes Preston of 135 Roughleaf Trail.
Hi, I'm William Preston, 135 Roughleaf Trail. I've been living in Carolina now for 32 years, and I've always taken my vacations down in Surf City, and I always felt my soul is down here. And I raised my family, I've always took my vacations, and I moved to Dogwood Lakes in 2011. In the period of time, 8 years living here, just pulling out of our subdivision is immensely hard with the flow of traffic that's coming from Wilmington. When that bypass is going to be implemented, the flow of traffic is going to be triple or if not more. The speed's coming off there, and that people are going to take shortcuts. It's human nature. When they see traffic being backed up by the Exxon station or by 210 and 17, they're going to cut through Dogwood Lakes. You know, it's just human nature, and like you say, it's for kids. You don't want to see one kid get killed as a result of poor planning that could be changed and safer. And I want to see Surf City develop and grow, but the safety of our children should be our priority.
Like so.
Next, we have Miss Laura Jerez from 114 Osier Drive.
Thank you guys for hearing me today. Just to show you how important this issue is to me and my neighbors, I'm 2 weeks postpartum and I'm here to talk to you. So I live right at the end of Osier. My house, my property abuts the development of the terrace, and my driveway is on an incline. So my kids are going to be the ones that are going to be impacted by this. There are a lot of cars in our neighborhood already. We have 140 residents. So, you can take 1.5 of that for cars. You cannot pass cars on our street. If there is a garbage truck or a school bus, you cannot get around them. And I, as a mother, drive very slowly through our streets. And there have been close calls where kids run out after a ball. They're riding their bike, they're not paying attention. So I'm very concerned that when we have, possibly another 100, 200, 2,000 cars going through our neighborhood, there's going to be an incident. And this is where I want to raise my family. I'm sorry, you're not being too emotional up here. So I would very much like to see Surf City grow and develop, but this entrance using Dogwood Lakes is not a great idea. We don't have our own cutout in the median, so it's already difficult for us as residents to get in and out of our neighborhood. There's no stoplight. We have to go turn right and go north to then turn around and do a U-turn at the Bojangles if we want to go south. So you can imagine all of the cars trying to do that same thing if they're coming through our neighborhood. It's going to spill over onto 17 and be a big mess. We do not oppose the development of the terraces or Surf City Crossing. That's going to be right in my backyard. I don't oppose to having more houses there, but the connection at Osier really needs to be looked at because it's not safe. It's not safe for our community, and they really need to have their own entrance on 17. I know there's part of that parcel that's actually in white, part of it's for sale currently. So if they're concerned about the wetlands that are currently blocking their ability to connect to the terraces, there's another property that they could use. So before the city considers approving this and having potential 2,000 additional cars with access to our streets with all of our kids, I really would like you to look at the possibility of another entrance for all of these residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am, and I appreciate you coming tonight. And I noticed that you were absolutely getting your exercise over there.
Next, we have Miss Nora Conway of 104 Hop Tree Branch. We have Eric at 109 Bunchberry Court.
Good evening, council members and attendances. My name is Eric Frederick, and I live in Dogwood Lakes, 109 Bunchberry Court. And one of the reasons I'm here for today is, just like my other fellow homeowners in Dogwood Lakes, our concern is the new development going on and not having their own entrance off of 17. One of the things that my concern as individual, and I know individuals like numbers and statistics, so one of the things that I definitely do, I have 3 sisters that drive buses. So there are 65 elementary students in Dogwood Lakes, 35 high school students, and there's 6 buses that come through Dogwood Lakes. 6. Now, if Dogwood Lakes is the only entrance that is used for terrace and the other entrance, all those buses are going to come through Dogwood Lakes. Now, we've already discussed the transportation and the roads, how short they are. It's going to be even more congested and more frustrated people. Now, for me, I work in healthcare administration. I'm a healthcare administrator in Jacksonville. One of the things we look at is patient satisfaction. Now, what's end up happening, if we have congestion on Dogwood Lakes, as a homeowner, I'm going to want to move. Because of, if I have to deal with the traffic leaving the Dogwood Lakes just to get on 17, that delays me getting to work. That delays the buses as well as everybody else having to wait until these kids, these 6 buses, come through Dogwood Lakes. That's going to back up all traffic. So I would definitely hope that our council members please review and look at the terrace, maybe have their own entrance coming off of 17 instead of using Dogwood Lakes coming through. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Next, we have Mr. Richard Vessev of 2503 South Shore Drive.
As you said, I'm Richard Bessoff, 2503 South Shore Drive. Mayor, council members, Chief, I appreciate your concern over the golf carts. I'm on South Shore Drive. Many a times throughout last summer, my first summer here, I was stuck 15 cars behind a golf cart. So I totally get it. And if everybody would be as considerate as they should be, pull over, that would be great. I don't know, maybe a little more enforcement with, the police department would be great. So I thank you for that. I know a lot of people have a lot of money invested in their golf carts, and they're great, and I get it. The other thing that, and I know probably tonight's not a good time to bring this up, is I would ask the mayor and the council to possibly consider the 3-minute limit and possibly make that a little longer. The citizens of our city come here and sit through these meetings. They have things that they would like to address you on. There's a lot of times when I've seen our fellow citizens up here addressing the council and they run out of time. I think that we should take things a little more seriously than the time it takes to boil an egg. And I'm not saying, a half hour or let somebody come up here and read War and Peace or anything else like that, but there are times where it does take more time. We're not a huge city where thousands of people come to speak, and like I said, tonight's kind of a rarity that we had so many speakers up here, but I just feel that if you are truly concerned with what the citizens of Surf City want to communicate to you and say to you, that we should revisit that 3 minutes. Robert's rules, that's just, they're just suggestions, and the 3-minute thing is a suggested thing for a lot of cities, but I think that you should probably reconsider maybe extending that to maybe 5 minutes. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Next we have Mr. Skip Watkins of 4014 4th Street.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. By the way, Mr. Mayor, I used to have the pleasure of riding down the Barnacle ramp with your brother on borrowed Kingfisherman's wagons. Dan and I, we did that for a while.
They wondered where that thing went.
And then, we brought it back. It wasn't in one piece, probably. First of all, thanks for your public service, because until recently I was a New Hanover County Commissioner, and everything that we dealt with mainly was growth, other than opioid and some crime things. So everything that's been going on tonight is growth. And I appreciate everything y'all done. You got the accesses up. We live in Wilmington, but we spend a lot of time here because of the beauty, and I've been here all my life. We also appreciate the porta potty at the 5th Street access too. We hope that stays there. But recently, a lot of decks are being approved on the dunes, and as these decks are built, they're going to have access to like a driveway. I'm not sure what the width of it is. I've heard 25 feet or so. We're seeing a significant decrease in public parking to accommodate the taxpayers, whether you're someone who lives here, whether you're someone who rents your place out. I'm not going to call out any addresses because I don't want to embarrass anybody, but the last couple of days I started at 9th Street and went south to the surf condos. And on 9th Street, there's shrubs, and they're old, but they're in the right-of-way. They're taking public parking spots. And I know council has had this addressed slightly, I believe, but if we're going to be enforcing one law, we must enforce all laws. 5th Street access, same thing. There's old shrubbery there that is in the right-of-way that impedes parking. There's a public parking sign that I suspect could be closer to the curb to pick up an additional space. Mecklenburg, posts and rope on both sides and a no parking sign. It, again, obstructs parking. Craven, shrubs, Jones, Lenore, Neptune, ropes and posts, all in the right-of-way. All along North Shore Drive from the condos north, you'll see similar situations. Even the newest sand dunes that have been nourished with taxpayer dollars, people are already staking out their claim. Now, I understand people want to stay parking, they want to have the amenities, but the growth of this community, you remember, Mr. Mayor, those of you that are from here, in the wintertime, in the wintertime or fall, you didn't see 15 cars on that road out there. Now you see 15 every minute out there. 7th Street access, taxpayer dollars again. It looks like another deck's going up, and people were parking in it today, and I suspect there's going to be more of these lots. You already know about what I'm talking about. So a lot of this is older vegetation, and you don't want to offend a homeowner. But then again, what if someone just parks their vehicle on top of that shrubbery? You can call the chief. Anyway, so it's a two-sided sword. We want growth. I dealt with it for 4 years in Wilmington, and sometimes it's not always easy. Thank you very much.
Thanks, sir.
Next, we have a Mr. Rick Robertson of 4086 4th Street. Daniel Blevins of 621B North New River Drive.
How are you guys doing today? I wasn't too informed as far as Dogwood Estates, but I want to back what the residents there are saying. You guys are in a unique position. You guys are ambassadors, and you guys are stewards for the investors and the homeowners and the residents here of Surf City. And you guys, I hope will take that into consideration. You guys have a lot of leverage as far as the apartments. We want growth. We want it to be responsible. But at the same time, if they're not willing to go out and spend the extra money to have an entranceway to 17 on their own, we have plenty of undeveloped places that have already been approved that we can sit and wait for a little bit as far as for a little more growth. So I would use that as a position of leverage for the developer anyway. Getting back to the unique stewardship, we're in a place in time or a place where you guys are very unique in a lot of ways. You are stewards to the citizens of Surf City, but you're also stewards to the investors of Surf City in the outer areas. And I love to do my research, and you can see, and anybody can go online, over the last many years, the investments in the businesses have all gone up in value, and that's due to a lot of what you guys do as council, councilman, mayor. That's what you guys do. You guys are stewards for the investors as well as the citizens here, and you guys have done a really good job as far as the growth goes and all that aspect. Topsail Beach, they've been awarded Best Beach Small Town, but keep in mind, they rely on us. They rely on our resources, our businesses, our stores, and that means they rely on you heavily, because without you guys making the choices you have made, they haven't been able to stay small town as they would like. So you guys have done an amazing job. I just wanted to point that out. Everybody, that's working together. I hope you guys definitely look into Dogwood. And as far as the golf carts, I think that was the right decision. Maybe put on our website that we are green friendly. So who knows? Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Next, we have Mr. Ed Wilson of 136 Cornell Lane.
Good morning. Good evening.
Howdy.
I don't know what it is.
Whatever it is, right.
I'm retired from the New York Transit. I really enjoyed my career. I enjoyed people. I enjoyed how things were running along, the traffic, with respect to, the traffic control. The width of these roads is ludicrous, 19 feet. I mean, it rings out to me. And seeing 22 children cross from my house every morning, I become a crossing guard. I mean, I see children sitting on the swells, sitting on the sidewalks. I see people coming in, people that don't even live there, because we don't have a gated community. So even before things move along, we're going to have people coming in or lost, or, in addition to the projection of the numbers of vehicles with the development, I mean, I'm all for it. I've seen a lot of development in my life all over. And I think it's a great idea, and But again, we have to become stewards, each one of us, not only those on the board, people who live in the community, watch everybody. You know, we have a tremendous amount of children every day. I was a school bus driver as well as a Manhattan bus driver, and I see, you know, things that can go awry. I'm not being an alarmist, by no means. I just want everybody to do the right thing. That's all.
Thank you, sir.
Next, we have a Mr. Phil Durr of 1714 North New River Drive.
Good evening, Council. I learned something tonight, that a life is worth $6,500. Good job, Chief. Your job is to publicly keep things safe and people safe. But now I know how much they're worth. Thank you. Secondly, and just because it didn't happen, it may. It probably will, unfortunately for some family. I got up to tell you something that really upset me last meeting. An individual stood up here against all the rules that you have, and I'm glad to hear you reiterate them, Mr. Mayor, and I'm glad to hear you're going to go by the rules now. It's been a long time since I've been in politics, but I do remember Robert's rules pretty good. What happened here last meeting was an ambush on one of your own. An individual got up, started to give us a list or a bullet point of everything he has done wrong and everything that he needs to change. And then 4 people got up to say what a wonderful job another certain individual did. It almost sounded like a political commercial to me. Now, I've been here when you've been talking about food trucks and mega decks and everything else foolish. But one of your councilmen has made an awesome point. I don't even know if the NCDOT was called to see if that's going to work, because the planning board is ill-equipped to give us information this evening. If that happened in business, we'd be looking for a new man. We deserve better as taxpayers. I don't know if you guys are even considered, but I don't wish to talk about politics when I come here. I wish to discuss the city's matters because we, and my wife and I, love this place, and we want to make sure that this place is safe and that everyone here enjoys their weekends and their weeks and their upcoming months. I'm going to go, if I still got time, I want to say that we're out of compliance with regard to federal law. We do not have a disability access for anyone to get on the beach. We put stairs where there used to be plywood so that we could get wheelchairs down. And my wife and I are sitting on the back porch trying to watch one of these persons in a wheelchair get up a Hatteras access backwards. They ended up doing a wheelchair carry. Miss Nelva, you'd have been out of luck. And you got every right to enjoy the beach. And so do all our citizens, and so do the people that come here to expect to enjoy the beach. I just want you to think about that. And now one of you guys stood up and told that person who was speaking they were out of order. Now one of you took up for your own. I hope you're not the next one that somebody takes pot shots at. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Thank you, Chief.
Next, we have Miss Sally Edens of 4104 4th Street. We have Mr. David Bird of 103 Durham Avenue.
I'm still at 103 Durham Avenue, David Byrd. I'll be real quick. Last meeting, out of frustration for a lack of control, I chose to do a very disrespectful thing to y'all. I got up and walked out. You owe my sincere apology, and I mean it. I apologize, and I appreciate, if I didn't accomplish anything else, this meeting started out with an announced intent to do better, and I appreciate that. I don't know that we've stayed on course as your intent, but we've done a heck of a lot better than we've been doing in the past. I would particularly like to thank Ms. Nelva, Ms. Batts, and Jeremy for actually representing the desires of the people out here. That's a big step in progress. I would further like to echo that there is absolutely no handicap access. You can tell me all about these Hatteras accesses, but look on what Hatteras is doing. They're actually putting in handicap accesses. Something ain't right. Apparently, if we couldn't get approval to put them back in, then we must have an absolute disastrous relationship with Campbell. I don't understand that. But it's done. I appreciate that they're back, and thank you all for the job you're doing. And again, I apologize.
Ms. Patty Gilbride of 8013 8th Street.
Good evening, all. Just a question completely unrelated to everything everybody's talked about tonight, a procedural question. And Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro-Tem, you probably, I know you can't answer it right now, but maybe you can during your comment. Back when I first started coming to meetings 2+ years ago, they started at 7, they were done by 7:25. We had the consent agenda, was the first part of the meeting, and there was maybe 5 items on it, and I looked down the list, bing, bang, boom, you guys, yay, nay, voted on it, and that was the end of it. And I said, whoa, what was that? What was the consent agenda? So I actually grabbed Councilwoman Batts after one of the meetings, and I said, when do you talk about these items that are on the consent agenda? You clearly, by nature of the fact that it's called the consent agenda, you must consent on it. You must agree to it at some time. So she said, well, we get a packet, we read the packet for the more mundane, routine business items, paying the light bill, so to speak. We just agree on it. And then the bigger things we discuss at a workshop. A workshop, you have yeah, we have workshops. Well, can I go to the workshop? Sure, you can go to the workshop. It's a public meeting. So eventually more people got involved, and the workshops were dubbed the third Friday is when you guys had the workshop, and that's where you discussed your business. So essentially my understanding was for something to appear on the consent agenda, unless it was a completely routine matter, it must have been discussed at the workshop for you to consent on it, because that's the only place that you can talk about it, unless, of course, there's minutes being taken. Because, of course, if there's more than 2 of you that are discussing anything of business, then there have to be minutes that are kept. And since I haven't seen any of those minutes, I assume that that's not happening. So recently, there's been 2 cases to illustrate that, because of course you're saying, well, what is she talking about? Last month, it was the social media policy. And this month, it was this whole Dogwood Lakes crossings. Now, I know tonight that was not on the consent agenda, but it was. Prior to all these people and all these emails and all this stuff going through, it was initially supposed to be on the consent agenda. So it would have been like that. It would have been passed. Fortunately, people used their power of voice and spoke up, and things changed. It got pulled off the consent agenda. It became a general item. You guys talked about it and listened to the public, and I think that's great. I love when people see that they can affect change. But I'm wondering, so how are these things that are never discussed, how do they get on the consent agenda? And I understand you can't answer that now, but I would appreciate if during your council comments, if you do. Thank you.
Okay. That's it? Okay. Let's start off with Miss Nelva first tonight.
All right, that's good. First of all, I want to thank all of you for coming. I have taken in all of y'all's concerns. I know how you feel. When I go to buy something, I want something explained to me. And I feel like y'all deserve the same thing. And I just appreciate all of you, your thoughts, your input. You might have woken up this board. But I'm going to tell you, we have got to stick together. We've got to work together and to pass things and do the best for Surf City. Now, we all have got Surf City on our mind. And we want it proper for everybody to come enjoy. And I'll be the first one to help them if I can. And another thing, I want to thank my beautification committee. They're just getting things back together after the storm. He's doing a good job with his people. And I want to just thank you, Jim, for everything and for your committee. And they're going to get together and straighten this Surf City up and make it look good. That's what's on their mind. I can't help them much as far as the work, but I'll certainly be there to edge you on. Thank you so much, and God bless all of you.
Okay, Mr. Jeremy.
Well, I just want to first, it's hard to follow her, for sure. Well, today was a great example of the mayor of the council listening to you and working together. You know, we've always had to be concerned about the citizens and not the potential citizens. So you are the most important. You know, I believe that our planning board, and as Councilman Albury said, that, you know, needs to really, really hold these developers accountable. And I think they need to look at all options when they're putting some sort of a development in. No doubt about it. And I think that I would like to see less rubber stamping in the future and more diverging into projects and how it affects everybody involved. Like I said, I don't think anybody here is against any kind of developments or any kind of growths. I think one of the things we cannot be afraid of is those types of items. We have to embrace them, but we also want to make sure we dot our I's and cross our T's. I think being proactive and not reactive. Today, I think the council was very proactive today. I like to, I know I spoke with Ashley Loftus, the our town manager, which is kudos during the budget. She's tough about finances, there's no doubt about it. You are tough, there's no doubt, and it's a great job on that. A lot of people have said, you know, we had tons of fatalities, Memorial Day weekend with water fatalities, and so, you know, what happens is we get, right, Mayor, you get all kinds of emails, you get all kinds of calls, that, you know, what about lifeguards, what about rescue swimmers, whole 9 yards, and that's something that I think we've talked about a lot. You know, the word liability comes up, the word comes, you know, there's a lot of things that come up, so I sent an email to Ashley, and I got a great response today. Hopefully she's going to talk about that today, maybe, or cover that. If not, hopefully in the future she may talk about that a little bit, but we're moving, you know, is the juice worth the squeeze? And, you know, is the liability worth it? And I think keeping people safe, like Jim said, Laura said, people here today, Dan said, our safety, our citizen safety is the absolute most important thing as stewards of the community here. And so we want to make sure we're doing that. And then the last thing is, I just want to say, I heard people complain about the roundabout. I love it. And I think traffic flowed. I remember last Memorial Day, I could never drive. Mayor and I were talking, right? Right. He actually had enough guts to leave his business, leave the island, and drive off the island and come back on Memorial Day. Crazy, okay? And I did the same thing. It'd take you about 50. It was really great, okay? And I'll say it was our busiest weekend to date. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying this because I'm sure it was for all businesses in Surf City. It was our busiest Memorial Day ever. So I say Surf City's back. And I'm excited about that. So thank you.
Okay, Councilman Helms.
Well, I thank everyone for coming. I'm in disagreement with the folks that live in Dogwood Lakes for the simple reason I know for a fact that a school bus and a car can pass on that road. Now, if you've got people that are parked on the shoulder where they're not supposed to be, that's a different horse of a different color. I I don't have any small children, but my neighbors do. And Eric that lives behind me has 2 of them, and there's about 8 or 10 right around me, and they congregate at the intersection. I'm not for 2,300 cars or whatever coming through that neighborhood either. But we can't blame the roads because the road's wide enough. You can pass, a school bus and a car can pass without any problem. The one thing that I think a lot of you are not looking at, and I'm not saying that we need these, I'm not against these apartments, but folks, you only got one entrance coming in that, except for the terrace. You need to think about that, because if something happens at the front of that entrance or that development, you can't get in it. If something would happen, and God forbid, if we had a structure fire at the entrance to that development, you're not going to get out and you're not going to get in, because the fire department's going to block that road. Because the hydrants, for an example, at my house, I've got one right square in front of my house. You need to think about that. You need another exit. I'm not against the apartments. I'm not for the traffic coming in and out of Dogwood Lakes, because we do have a lot of kids. And up where I live, I know all the kids, and I don't want any of them hurt. But we can't blame it on the narrow roads. And I'm in agreement with you, I don't want 150 to 200 cars extra coming in there either. But you need to think about that second entrance, which we've already got going into the terraces. That would give your emergency personnel another entrance into that development in case something happened at the front to where it was blocked off. If 17's blocked at your exit, you're stuck. And I don't like, and I know most of you don't want to be stuck, because if we have something happen at the first of that entrance, and God forbid anything happened to someone below my house or below the next road, there's no emergency vehicles can get to you. So you need to think about that. Of course, the terrace is going to have an entrance in it, and you'll be able to travel it. And I know this is not an ideal situation, and I'm in agreement with you. I don't want to see all these cars come in. I think the biggest time that you'll have cars coming in is when somebody's in Wilmington and they're wanting to get into that development. They're going to make a right turn into Dogwood Lakes. But as far as exiting, I don't think they'll use Dogwood Lakes as an exit point, because there's too many turns you got to make. And one of them is getting on 17 without a stoplight and making a U-turn down there in front of Bojangles. So think about it. And I'm not against, again, I will say I'm not against the apartments or whatever, but we can't blame it on the road. We just don't want that much traffic, and I don't either, coming in front of the house. I got 2 little dogs, and I try to keep them out of the road, and I do keep them out of the road most of the time. But other people are walking dogs and stuff like that, and kids are walking their dogs, and I don't want any animal hurt either. So I hope you have a good weekend, and I hope we've we've delayed it and hope they can come out with the developers can come up with some other alternative. Thank you.
Thank you. Have you got a sermon too?
I can try.
Councilwoman Teresa Batt.
Thank you all for coming out tonight. I am very proud of every department here in Surf City. It's been 9 months since the storm, and we have come a long way. And for each department to work together like they have, and for our council to work together tonight, it makes me very proud. I live here, I love it here, and when you live and love, you have to investigate and listen to your residents that live here as well. Just to be a couple points, there is a volunteer workshop that is being held on June the 8th at the community center here for our hurricane preparedness plan. On the 20th, that's the workshop. On the 22nd is the actually preparedness day from 10 to 2 at the community center. We have received prizes donated from Walmart, Lowe's, Southeastern Healthcare Preparedness Region, and the Mountain House Foods. We have also applied for a Duke Energy grant for communication equipment in the amount of $49,820, and we will not know until August who has received that grant, but hopefully we will. And we are currently planning the process of the Independence Day celebration with our emergency director as well. And then on one other positive note, a lot of you probably have heard that the House bill was passed. $19 billion in disaster aid package was passed yesterday evening by a vote. The president is expected to sign this bill into law. This bill also provides an extension on the National Flood Insurance Program through September 30th of 2019, so this program does not lapse on June 14th.
All right. Mayor Pro-Tem, your turn.
Thank you, Mayor. I thank all of you for coming tonight. I appreciate all the emails that I got and the other correspondence that I received. Kind of capping what the audience and the citizens have said here tonight was the need for public parking, to look at trying to increase public forum time, enforce the right-of-way obstructions and our ordinance that we have, and look at alternative solutions or possible alternative solutions for the traffic problem that Dogwood Lakes is looking at or worried about. Look into the alternate, more involvement in the planning department and the planning department's decisions concerning developments that are coming in. And on that note, I'd like to also say that not only from the planning board's department, when they send out these notices that development is taking place or something's going on or rezoning is changing that, and they tell you to go to the meetings or this is going to be heard at the planning board meeting on this time, make that meeting. That is where you need to have your input put at drastically first. That can make the big difference in what's going to happen and what will happen. That's where you need to address it at. Not that we don't want to hear your comments here, we do, but when it gets to us, it's a little late in the game. It needs to start there at the planning board. Talking about disability access to the beach. There's a different definition out there, and it's according to who you ask and what book you're looking into about disability accesses to the beach. We would love to have one that can go down right to the water, they can step out in the water and wiggle their toes. But unfortunately, cost, and not only that, and other things prohibit that as far as restrictions. The consent agenda that you brought up, Ms. Gilbright, the agenda is usually, the whole agenda is usually set by the mayor and the clerk, and anyone that wants to have anything added to the agenda or put on the agenda It takes 2 council people to have that added or taken away. You can't do it by yourself. It takes people. We've got to have do so. As far as communicating, we get the information. It's normal protocol. When I say normal protocol, it's things that like moving an amendment, changing from the budget. We're coming up needing a little money in the fire department. We need to take it from the general fund to do that. Those type of things, and some others. It's not any of the thing that really requires a public hearing on, but if there is one, for instance, tonight was a good example, that was on the agenda, and we pulled it off because of all the emails we got and other things to do, and we had 2 council people request to pull that off. That's why it came that way. And one of the reasons for that, one of the things that came on that I've heard, especially here in the last year and a half, is the good old boy network. They always got together and they did this and they did that, and I think tonight you can look at it and see that's not the case, never has been the case. We don't get together and we don't discuss. The information is presented to the mayor or to the clerk, and it's put on the agenda, and we get our packets like everybody else does. We don't get together behind closed doors. We don't communicate beforehand. It's against the law, and we obey the laws, and we look forward to obeying the laws. I wish everyone would do that. And when we do some things and look at, from my standpoint, I look at things logically, factually, and try to leave my passion and my emotions out of it. Because you must make a rational decision based on the facts and the data that you have and the concerns and what is best for the community. Not what I want, not what I would love to have, or how strongly I feel about it. It's all about what is best for the town, safe for the town, and best for the community. With that, Mr. Mayor, I thank all of you for coming. I thank you for your comments. Thank you for your time. But please, when you hear a rumor, check the facts and speak factually and logically when you speak. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like all of you to remember Buddy in your prayers. He lost a brother. He'll be buried tomorrow. So just keep him in your prayers.
Was his younger
brother. We love you.
Well, y'all covered most of it. You didn't leave much for me to talk about. But
we let you rest. We let you rest.
Let me rest, okay. Yeah, I think they covered the consent agenda a little bit, but most of the stuff in the consent agenda, and if you have a question on the consent agenda, it will come out. It's out. In other words, when you look at the agenda for the thing, if you have a question on it, you can call Town Hall and ask them. But the minutes are sent out to us ahead of time if we have a correction that needs to be done in the minutes where what we said or what we know, then we call in and she corrects them, and a lot of times we get a new set before the meeting that has already been corrected. And then emergency operations, that's stuff that we really don't know that much about anyway, but the emergency management guy is telling us what we need to do in that instance. The Parks and Rec master plan, this is done by the Parks and Rec department, and their advisory board is the one that has already gone through and approved it, and then it's presented, it's sent to us. But if we have a question on any of that stuff before the meeting, then we call and the questions are answered. And if we have too many questions, then they'll take it off of the consent and put it on the regular agenda. Budget order amendment is usually just shifting money from one thing to the other. And, just like you at home do, maybe you got money, you were going to go out to the movie tomorrow night, but your kid's got a ball game, so you got to spend that money to go to that ball game instead of going to the movie tomorrow night. But anyway, it's sort of like that. This one was, fire department got some insurance money back, so it was taken out of the general fund, put into the fire department into two different budgets, for two different things in their budget. So that's a lot of what consent agenda is, and it just saves a lot of time in the meeting. So we can have all these public hearings. I think we had 3 public hearings tonight, and then we had a public forum where people could speak. So we do try our best to give our citizens time to express. We'll look at the 5-minute instead of the 3-minute, see what they think about that. But I mean, in usually time, I think they try to be lenient with people. They don't usually cut them off too quick at the 3-minute. They're pretty lenient with them. And then, the gentleman that was talking about the stuff in the right-of-way, he's busy writing right now, but anyway, I caught you. But anyway, if you have that information, if you'll get it to Chad, aren't you in charge of the right-of-way, Chad? You or Bumgardner, one or the other. Okay. Yeah, one of you over there. If you get it to them, then they'll take care of that. Okay. And like I say, I mean, sometimes stuff is brought to our attention that we don't know about. So we do appreciate each and every one of you coming and expressing your opinion, whether they're good or whether they're bad. We still accept them. So, if nothing else is to come before the board, I'll turn to our manager at this time.
All right, thank you, Mayor.
Yes.
I only have just a couple things, so I'll keep it short and sweet. Just to kind of give an update, someone did mention a porta-john. Some of our accesses do have porta-johns during the summer, and just to kind of give you a list of those, they are located at 5th Street, Broadway, 510 North Shore, Wilmington Avenue, Goldsboro Avenue, Greensboro Avenue, High Point Avenue, Raleigh, Durham, and Charlotte Avenues. As far as our beach accesses are concerned, our Parks and Rec Department has done a fantastic job getting these opened back up. Out of the 36, we have 3 left to complete, so they should be done, I would say, in the next couple of weeks. To also give you an update on our bridge cleaning, we did hear back from DOT with a schedule as to when they were going to take care of the bridge cleaning, and they will do that the 3rd Sunday from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. starting June the 23rd. So the town will have to fill in all the other times. So we're going to start with the first week of every month, and then from there we will take it as an as needed basis. If we see that it needs to be cleaned more often, more on a weekly basis, then we'll do that. But that's just to kind of give you an update on those 2 items.
I'd like to say they did an excellent job with cleaning it last time.
Yes, they did.
I'm gonna get up and see what that equipment is what I'm gonna do. That it?
That's all I got.
Wow, you were short and sweet tonight, weren't you? How about Mr. Attorney over there?
I'll be shorter and sweeter.
You will? Now, I don't know about the sweeter part. You'll be...
Just one comment on the consent agenda. You know, the consent agenda is really just for non-controversial and routine matters.
Right.
And the person charged with making the agenda puts those items on. But any council member, can request prior to the adoption of the agenda to remove a consent item.
Right.
And anyone can ask for an item to be removed, and it must be removed and placed on the regular agenda. Pardon me? No, it does not. No, it does not. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a consent.
Correct. Yep.
That's all we got.
No.
That's okay.
It's automatic.
We're good.
It's just removed to the regular agenda.
All right. Okey-doke. Is that all you got?
That's it.
All right. How about Mr. Chief? Have you got anything?
No, I'm good, thank you.
You're good, okay.
That's fine, thank you, sir.
All right, if there's nothing else coming before the board, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. All right, motion carried. Thank you, folks, once again for coming.